The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as I watched my sister-in-law systematically dismantle everything I'd built. The family dinner that should have been a celebration of my boutique's 5th anniversary had turned into an impromptu business meeting, with me as the only one not invited to participate. I'm Soleil, and this is how I learned to stop being a doormat. The boutique's performance has been adequate, Sienna announced, her perfectly manicured fingers sliding a tablet across the mahogany dining table. But with proper management, we could triple the revenue within a year. My husband Cyrus nodded, not even glancing in my direction. Makes sense. The Ryan family name carries weight in this city. I took another sip of champagne, letting the bubbles mask my bitter smile. 5 years of 60-hour weeks, carefully curated collections, and personal relationships with every regular customer, all dismissed as adequate. I've already drafted a new organizational structure, Sienna continued, her voice dripping with false concern. Soleil, darling, you'll have so much more time to focus on. What was it you studied in college again? Business administration and real estate finance, I replied softly, watching Paxton, my father-in-law, barely suppress an eye roll. Right, Sienna smiled. Well, you'll have more time for charity events and social functions. That's always been more your speed, hasn't it? Under the table, I gripped my phone tighter, fighting the urge to pull up the property deed that would wipe that condescending smile off her face. But timing was everything. I appreciate your interest in my boutique, I managed, voice steady. But I'd like to review any proposed changes before— Oh, sweetheart, Cyrus interrupted, patting my hand like I was a child. Let Sienna handle the business side. She's got the experience. Blair, my business partner, who'd been quietly observing, caught my eye from across the table. She gave me the slightest nod, our secret signal that everything was proceeding according to plan. Of course, I conceded, raising my glass. To family business. Sienna beamed, already pulling up more documents on her tablet. I'll start implementing changes next week. Nothing dramatic at first, just replacing some of your less qualified staff with our corporate team. The crystal stem nearly cracked in my grip. Those less qualified people were like family to me. But I forced another smile, watching Sienna revel in her apparent victory. What my dear sister-in-law didn't know was that while she'd been plotting to take my boutique, I'd been quietly buying up real estate, including the building that housed not just my shop, but every single one of the Ryan family's precious businesses. Sometimes the best revenge is served with a champagne chaser. You really should have seen their faces when they toasted to family business, Blair laughed, sliding a stack of property documents across her desk. They have no idea they're literally toasting to their own downfall. I was in Blair's office the morning after the dinner, going through our contingency plans. The morning sun streamed through the windows of the high-rise, illuminating the Seattle skyline behind her. Did you get the new lease agreements drafted? I asked, thumbing through the papers. All set. The moment you give the word, we can— A knock at the door interrupted us. My sister Stephanie burst in, her reporter's notebook in hand. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was insane. Tell me everything about last night. Sienna's making her move, I said, pulling up a chair for her. She wants to start replacing my staff next week. That witch, Stephanie muttered, scribbling furiously. Please tell me you're not actually letting her. Blair pulled out another folder. Actually, we've been preparing for this. Show her, Soleil. I spread out the building's architectural plans. See this? The Ryan family's main office, their tech startup, their investment firm. They're all here, in my building. Stephanie's eyes widened. Wait, when did you— Remember last year when I kept missing our Sunday brunches? I was working with Blair to acquire the property through a shell company. Nobody knows I own it. Except me, Blair interjected. And now you. The door opened again, and we quickly shuffled the papers away. It was just the cleaning staff, but we couldn't be too careful. Cyrus called me this morning, I continued once we were alone. He wants me to sign some papers tomorrow. Just a formality, he said. Stephanie grabbed my hand. Don't you dare sign anything. Trust me, I won't, but I need to play along a little longer. The lease renewals for all their businesses are due next month. Blair's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. Speaking of playing along, Sienna's at your boutique right now. She's talking to your staff. My heart raced. Sarah and Miguel? Already warned them. They know to act nervous and uncertain about their jobs. Make Sienna think she's in control. I stood up, gathering my things. I should get over there. Can't let her suspect anything's wrong. Soleil, Stephanie called as I reached the door. Are you sure about this? It's not too late to just confront them directly. I thought about years of condescending comments, of being patted on the head, of watching my business decisions questioned and dismissed. They need to learn, I said firmly. Sometimes the only way to teach people respect is to show them exactly what they stand to lose. As I left, I heard Blair whisper to Stephanie, "Just wait until they realize who really holds all the cards." The company retreat was Cyrus's idea. A weekend at a luxury mountain resort to strengthen family bonds. I spent the first day playing my part perfectly, nodding at all the right moments and keeping quiet during business discussions. More wine, darling? Cyrus offered during dinner, already pouring before I could answer. Thank you, I smiled, watching him return to his animated conversation with Marcus, his college friend and business advisor. I pretended to focus on my phone while they talked, but their words carried clearly across the restaurant's terrace. So, the boutique acquisition is moving forward? Marcus asked, swirling his whiskey. Cyrus chuckled. Soleil doesn't have the business sense to fight it. She's great at picking pretty dresses and chatting with customers, but real business? That's not her strong suit. My fingers tightened around my wine glass. She seems capable enough, Marcus observed. Oh, she's perfect for what we needed, Cyrus continued. Beautiful, charming, great at social events. But let's be honest, she's not built for the corporate world. Sienna will do a much better job running things. I excused myself to the bathroom, passing their table just as Marcus asked, "And she's okay with all this?" "She knows her place," Cyrus replied confidently. "Besides, what's she going to do? Fight the entire Ryan family?" In the bathroom, I called Blair. "Move everything up," I whispered. "I don't want to wait until next month anymore." "Are you sure? We planned—" I just heard my husband explain to his friend that I know my place. So yes, I'm sure. A pause. I'll have the papers ready by Monday. When I returned to the table, Sienna had joined them. She was explaining her vision for my boutique's future. "We'll start by modernizing the inventory system," she declared. "The current setup is so quaint." "The current setup increased profits by 40% last quarter," I said quietly. Everyone stared at me. I rarely challenged them directly. "Well, yes," Sienna recovered quickly. "But imagine what we could do with proper management. I look forward to seeing your ideas," I smiled, raising my glass. "To proper management." Later that night, I stood on our suite's balcony, watching the stars. Cyrus came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "You're being so understanding about all this," he murmured. "I knew you'd see it was for the best." I leaned back against him, thinking about the property documents waiting in Blair's office. "Oh, I definitely see things clearly now. That's my girl," he said, kissing my neck. I smiled up at the night sky. 3 more days until Monday, when they'd all learn what knowing my place really meant. "Sign here and here," Blair had said exactly 1 year ago, sliding the property purchase documents across her desk. "Once this goes through, you'll own the entire building." $14 million, I'd whispered, gripping the pen. "My entire savings, plus the loan." "You've earned every penny," Blair had reassured me. "While they were busy underestimating you, you were building an empire right under their noses." Now, sitting in the Ryan family's weekly business meeting, that memory kept me calm as I watched Sienna present her vision board for my boutique's future. "We'll gut the entire space," she announced, clicking through her slideshow. "Modern minimalist design, digital displays everywhere, automated inventory. Sounds expensive," I commented mildly. Paxton waved his hand dismissively. "The family will handle the finances, dear. You needn't worry about that. Of course, I smiled. Though I should mention the lease is up for renewal soon. Cyrus frowned. What lease? The building lease, for all our businesses. I kept my voice casual. Has anyone contacted the property management company? Sienna looked annoyed at the interruption. Daddy's people will handle that. Now, about the staff changes. Actually, Paxton cut in, suddenly alert. Who owns the building now? It changed hands last year, didn't it? Some investment group, Cyrus said. They've been fair with the rent so far. I took a slow sip of water, watching Sienna return to her presentation. None of them had bothered to investigate the investment group that bought their building. Why would they? Business details were men's work, after all. The meeting dragged on for another hour. As we were leaving, Cyrus pulled me aside. Listen, sweetheart, he said in that patronizing tone I'd grown to hate. I know change is scary, but opposing the family on this would be unwise. You understand? I touched his cheek gently. Is that a threat, darling? His eyes widened slightly. Of course not, just friendly advice. The Ryans take care of their own, but we don't respond well to resistance. Noted, I said, gathering my things. Oh, and Cyrus, you might want to tell your father to check his email. The new lease terms should be arriving today. New terms? The investment group is raising the rent, significantly. I headed for the door, then paused. I hear the owner can be quite resistant to negotiations. His confused expression almost made me break character and laugh. Almost. In the elevator, I texted Blair. It's starting. Send the email. Her response came immediately. Done. Want to watch the fireworks from my office? On my way. And Blair, bring champagne. The expensive kind. The kind Cyrus always said I couldn't appreciate properly. What do you mean you're firing Sarah? I demanded, watching Sienna clear out my boutique manager's desk. She's been here since we opened. Darling, she's simply not qualified for where we're taking this business, Sienna replied, dropping Sarah's family photos into a cardboard box. My team starts Monday. I glanced at Sarah, who was fighting back tears. We'd rehearsed this moment, but her emotions were real enough. At least let her finish the week. That won't be necessary. Sienna's smile was razor sharp. Security will escort her out. My phone buzzed. A text from Blair. Paxton trying to reach building owner, having fun redirecting him through shell companies. Fine, I said aloud, playing my part. But I want to handle telling Miguel myself. Oh, he's already gone, Sienna said breezily. Left an hour ago. Really, Soleil, this emotional attachment to employees is exactly why you need our help running things. My hands shook as I texted Miguel. You okay? His response came quickly. All good, following the plan. Blair's got me set up at the other location. Stephanie burst into the boutique, her reporter's instincts having caught wind of the drama. What's going on here? Just some necessary restructuring, Sienna said smoothly. Family business, you understand. Family business? Stephanie's eyes flashed. Like how you're trying to steal my sister's. I grabbed her arm. Steph, don't. Listen to your sister, Sienna smirked. She knows what's best. Stephanie pulled me outside, her voice dropping to a fierce whisper. You need to stop this now. Get a lawyer. Fight back. Trust me, I murmured. Everything's happening exactly as it should. Back inside, Sienna was installing her new security system. We'll need your keys, Soleil. New protocols, you understand. I handed them over, watching her satisfaction grow. My phone buzzed again. Cyrus this time. We need to talk. Father's furious about the lease terms. Everything okay? Sienna asked, noting my expression. Perfect, I smiled. Just perfect. After she left, Stephanie helped Sarah pack her real belongings, the ones that mattered. The rest were props, part of our elaborate show. I can't believe you're letting them do this, Stephanie hissed. Sometimes you have to lose a battle to win the war, I said, watching Sienna's car pull away. Besides, Sarah starts at our new location next week, double her current salary. Sarah's tears dried instantly. Really? Really. Now go home, make it look good. Post something sad on social media. Once alone, Stephanie gripped my arm. You're playing a dangerous game, sis. No, I corrected her, watching Sienna's team change the locks on my boutique. I'm not playing at all. That's what makes this so dangerous, for them. The boutique's grand reopening, under Sienna's management, was a disaster. I watched from a corner as confused regular customers wandered through sterile aisles of generic merchandise, their faces reflecting the same disappointment I'd predicted. Where are all the unique pieces? Mrs. Anderson, my longtime client, asked. And what happened to Miguel? He always knew exactly what I needed. Our new inventory better reflects current market trends, Sienna explained condescendingly. And our AI system can help you find. AI? Mrs. Anderson scoffed. I came here for Miguel's expertise and Soleil's taste, not a computer. Similar conversations echoed throughout the evening. By closing time, Sienna was seething. This is your fault, she snapped at me. You've poisoned them against us. I haven't said a word, I replied calmly. Your vision speaks for itself. Don't get smart with me, she hissed, stepping closer. You might have fooled everyone with this perfect wife act, but I see right through you. Do you? I met her gaze steadily. Then you're smarter than your brother. Her eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? The boutique's door chimed. Cyrus stormed in, face flushed. The building owner rejected our counteroffer. They're tripling the rent for all our properties. What? Sienna whirled around. They can't do that. Apparently they can, he growled. Father's lawyers can't find any loopholes. Have you tried meeting with the owner directly? I suggested innocently. They won't meet! Cyrus kicked a display stand, sending designer bags tumbling. Everything's through some maze of corporations and lawyers. Sienna grabbed her phone, furiously typing. This is ridiculous. We're the Ryans. Nobody treats us this way. I picked up a fallen bag, smoothing its leather. Karma's interesting, isn't it? They both turned to me. What did you say? Sienna demanded. Just that it's interesting, I shrugged. How quickly things can change. Power, control. It's also fragile. Cyrus grabbed my arm. What do you know about this? Let go of me, I said quietly. Not until you. I said, let go. My voice could have frozen hell itself. He released me, stepping back. For the first time, I saw fear flicker across his face. You know what your problem is? I straightened my jacket. Both of you. You're so convinced of your own superiority that you never bothered to look closer at what was right in front of you. Are you threatening us? Sienna's voice shook slightly. I headed for the door, pausing only briefly. I don't make threats, Sienna. I make plans. And unlike you, I know how to execute them perfectly. Their stunned silence followed me out into the night. The Ryan family's emergency meeting was held in their main conference room. My conference room, technically. I arrived last, Blair and Stephanie flanking me like bodyguards. What are they doing here? Sienna demanded. This is family only. They are my family, I replied, taking my seat. More than some people in this room. Paxton slammed his hand on the table. Enough games. Our businesses are being threatened, and I want answers. Threatened? I raised an eyebrow. I thought the Ryans were too powerful to be threatened. The building owner is demanding impossible terms, Cyrus explained, spreading out papers. We'll have to relocate all our businesses within 30 days if we can't negotiate. Relocate where? Blair asked innocently. I hear commercial real estate is quite tight in this area. Sienna's eyes narrowed. How would you know? Because, I said, pulling out my own folder. She's my property manager. The room fell silent. What are you talking about? Paxton's voice was dangerous. I slid the ownership documents across the table. Surprise! I'm your landlord. Cyrus snatched the papers, his face draining of color. This is impossible. Is it? I stood up. While you were busy undermining my boutique, I was buying the building. While you were calling me simple, I was creating shell companies. While you were planning to take everything from me, I was becoming your worst nightmare. You can't do this, Sienna whispered. Actually, I can. And I will. I started laying out new lease agreements. Here are your options. Option 1, triple rent starting next month. Option 2, vacate within 30 days. You'd destroy your husband's family business? Paxton growled. Like you tried to destroy mine? I countered. The difference is, I did this legally. Ethically, I just played the game better than you. Cyrus stood up. Soleil, please, we can talk about this. Now you want to talk? I laughed. After years of patronizing me? After letting your sister fire my loyal employees? After telling your friends I know my place? I'll give you the boutique back, Sienna offered desperately. The boutique? I shared an amused look with Blair. Oh, honey, I've already opened 3 new locations. Your little hostile takeover just freed me to expand. You planned this all along, Paxton realized. No, I corrected him. You planned this. Every condescending remark, every dismissal of my abilities, every attempt to control me. You created this situation. I just turned it to my advantage. I gathered my things, heading for the door. You have until tomorrow to decide. Oh, and Sienna, I want my boutique keys back. Consider this your termination notice. The last thing I heard was Paxton's roar of fury and Sienna's quiet sob, but I didn't look back. Queens don't need to watch their chess pieces fall. Sign here, my lawyer said, sliding the divorce papers across his desk. Cyrus already signed his portion this morning. I picked up the pen, then paused. Was he alone? No. His entire family came. Sienna looked like she'd swallowed glass. I smiled, signing with a flourish. Outside the office, Stephanie waited with champagne. To my sister, she grinned, popping the cork. Who taught the Ryans that Karma's a better businesswoman than they are? My phone buzzed, Blair sending updates about the Ryan businesses. They'd chosen to relocate rather than pay my terms. Their pride wouldn't let them stay under my control. Mrs. Anderson called, Stephanie said as we walked to my car. She's thrilled the boutique is back to normal. Said she never set foot in there during Sienna's modern minimalist nightmare phase. Speaking of the boutique, I turned the corner, and there it was. Miguel had restored the window displays to their former glory. Sarah was inside, helping a customer with that personal touch no AI could match. Soleil! A familiar voice stopped me. Cyrus stood by the entrance, looking tired and humbled. What do you want? Stephanie stepped forward protectively. Just to talk. He glanced at the store. You've put everything back the way it was. Not everything, I replied. The business has grown, improved, changed, like me. He nodded slowly. I underestimated you. We all did. That was your mistake, not mine. Father's company is struggling, he admitted. The new location isn't as prestigious. Clients are leaving. Karma, Stephanie muttered. Maybe, he agreed surprisingly. I wanted you to know you won. Completely. Sienna's moving to Chicago. Father's talking about early retirement. I studied him. This man I'd once loved, who'd made me feel so small. Now he seemed small himself. I didn't do this to win, I said finally. I did it to show you who I've always been. You just never bothered to look. I see you now, he whispered. Too late. I walked past him into my boutique, where Sarah was arranging a new display. Everything okay? She asked, watching Cyrus leave through the window. Perfect, I smiled, running my hand along a rack of dresses. How are sales at the new locations? Better than projected. Blair says we might need to expand again soon. I caught my reflection in the mirror, straight-backed, confident, free. No more pretending to be less than I was. No more quiet submission. You know what? I said, picking up a sales report. I think it's time to expand into Chicago. Sarah grinned. Sienna will love that. Well, I shrugged, heading to my office. She always said family business was important. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success, It's becoming exactly who you were meant to be, without apology.